we are starting off the Money in Football special feature with Hearts, because Hearts they've been involved in a situation recently, and you know what, yeah, from June 21st, we're going to start June 21st, 2013, because Hearts goalkeeper Jamie McDonald and midfielder Ryan Stevenson have agreed to take wage cuts in a bid to help the club survive its administration battle. Now, we were talking about CSKA Sofia a minute ago, and their fans staging violent protests outside the Bulgarian Football Union. Now, it's one of them was, the duo accepted a proposal from the stricken club to receive reduced salary payments, according to Hearts manager Gary Locke. Administrators BDO have been appointed to oversee the rescue efforts, and 4 members of the Tynecastle squad are expected to be made redundant. Locke said there is no update on the names of players to be made redundant, but the good thing is that 2 players, Ryan Stevenson and Jamie McDonald, have agreed to take wage cuts to stay. That's a bit of positive news, especially for myself. It's a magnificent gesture from the 2 players, and they are the type of players we want at our football club. We have all made sacrifices over the last few days, and now we just hope the fans can do the same. Hearts, who owe £25 million to Lithuanian companies UBIG and Ukio Bankas, made 14 members of staff redundant as well. So, Hearts administrator are optimistic over season ticket sales from 22nd of June 2013. Administrator Brian Jackson is optimistic Hearts will reach the season ticket sales needed to keep the ailing club afloat. Accountancy firm BDO took control of the Edinburgh club last week and set a target of selling 3,000 more season tickets to keep going over the summer. Sales started off very well. I understand we got to nearly 500 by yesterday. This was 21st of June 2013. This was more than we'd anticipated, and it shows demand is there. Hearts had already sold 7,000 season books before entering administration, but the money raised through those sales has already gone. As usual, we've had problems with credit card companies, which we're trying frantically to sort out, continued Jackson. The 3,000 should allow us to trade for the next 3 or 4 months, and that tells you there is a viable business there. But anyway, Jackson told Radio Scotland's Sports Sound programme that Hearts were still looking at 4 players leaving the club, as mentioned. Jackson was also positive about the credibility of a proposed bid to buy the club from a fans consortium, the Foundation of Hearts, as well. I don't have it. This was quite an interesting one, because there have been a couple of consortiums linked to buying Hearts. So it's one of them was where this thing is actually getting more interesting by the minute. So they were formerly owned by Vladimir Romanov, who first invested in the club in 2005. So they're going to start the next season in the top flight with a 15-point deduction. So it's one of them was interesting stuff there. But on June 19th, going back in time, Hearts officially got placed into administration. And you know what? Hearts directors had requested that KPMG be appointed administrators, but the club secured creditors UKO Bankas and UKO Bankas Investment Group wanted BDO, who have been given the task of being their administrators. But you know what, yeah? The Lithuanian administrator indicated he will vote for a company voluntary agreement, CVA, albeit with a 15-point penalty for Hearts entering administration. Now, you know what, yeah? A UK-based consortium had lodged a takeover bid for Hearts on June 19th as well. A UK-based consortium lodged a takeover bid for stricken Scottish Premier League club Hearts. The proposal was from a group of 6 wealthy businessmen and includes a draft creditors voluntary arrangement to help the Tynecastle club out of administration. Administrators Valentas UAB of UKO Bankas in Lithuania had indicated that they would accept the CVA. The consortium behind the bid wished to remain anonymous at that stage, but are fronted apparently by Edinburgh businessman Stephen Patterson and Fraser Kerr of Haynes Watts Accountants. And you know what? It's one of them ones, yeah? Hearts financial trouble, a little brief timeline of it. We'll give you a quick timeline of it, because there's been a lot of water that has crossed over that bridge. February 2005, Vladimir Romanov took a controlling stake at Tynecastle. Season 2005-2006, Hearts finished second in the SPL. Hearts won the Scottish Cup in 2006 and 2012. Wage delays became a regular feature from 2011 on, as we had mentioned on a couple of shows. November 2011, Romanov was seeking a buyer for the club, saying that he had invested more than £50 million. October 2012, the SPL imposed a registration ban for repeated late payments of salaries. And in May 2013, UKIO Bank has declared bankrupt. And in May 2013 as well, UBIG unable to meet its liabilities. And in May 2013 as well, Hearts avoided a points deduction as SPL rules, UBIG had not suffered an insolvency event. Now also in addition to this was the fact that in June 2013, as we just mentioned, June 19th, 2013, Hearts entered administration. But Hearts, as we tweeted yesterday, on Sunday, before the Confederations Cup final, Hearts have been given some good news that they were able, even though they've had a transfer embargo recently placed on them, they have been allowed to sign Liverpool's youngster Danny Wilson permanently, which I think they have. So it's one of them, was a bit of good news for them, and the reason being is because he was registered as their player before the transfer embargo took place, so there's no problem with registration. Woo! But in terms of money in football, again, I think with Vladimir Romanov, it seems like another club similar to Portsmouth who won a couple of trophies and then maybe started living outside their means. Maybe that was the case. I'm not pretending to know a great deal about the Hearts situation, but at the end of the day, for me it's a case of another club sadly going into administration and could end up being extinct. Could end up facing extinction. Now, people taking job cuts and that kind of thing, hey, it's one of them ones, man. I mean, that's got to be scary stuff for those who are supporting families, who are professional footballers and supporting families on that wage. That's got to be scary times. I mean, I'm oddly enough, I'm actually reading a particular book. I'm going to show you it because the Heart story kind of has parallels. 39 Days of Gaza. 39 Days of Gaza, and it was about Gaza's brief stay at Keter in town. Now it's one of them ones. For me, it's a case of a football club is a delicate balancing act anyway, in terms of spending, in terms of that. In terms of trying to balance finances, it's very, very difficult. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm just looking at it as in, I don't know, man. For me, it's hard to kind of castigate Hearts too much, but at the same time, if Vladimir Romanov has run the club into the ground, similar to what apparently Charles Green and guys have done at Rangers or Newco, then the previous ownership needs to be castigated in a very draconian fashion. But it's not fair that foreign ownership, or any sort of ownership actually, whether it be domestic or foreign, is allowed to come into a club and basically strip mine it and leave it to die on its backside. It's not fair to the fans, and it's not fair to the club who have been, and Hearts have been around for, I think they are over 100 years old. So it's not fair. It's not fair to have that done, for me. But I mean, Gezzie, do you want to jump in on? Do you want to jump in on this?
No, I did. I mean, like, taking everything in, I kind of agree with you. It's difficult to go and really castigate them, as you said, too harshly. But at the same time, you still have to castigate them, because it's just like, well, look, this is happening to you, and you're not actively trying to learn from it. So the only person that you can really blame is yourselves in relation to Hearts, of course. But at the same time, it's not as bad as what it could be, which is a big positive. And like you said, they've been able to sign Danny Wilson. That is a big plus. But I think, the whole experience of going into administration and having so many other things as ripple effects happen as a result, the club need to learn from this and plan going forward to say that, look, we can't actually afford to go through this again. So I just think they need to really look at themselves now and say, look, how do we go forward and go forward in a way that's essentially self-sustaining? There's no actual reason for them to need to go back to this point ever again. So as long as there's a positive lesson is learned from it, then for me, overall, the experience was good for them. But at the same time, it kind of brings me back to the discussion that we had about Portsmouth, about Liverpool, about Manchester United in regards to, finance and the restrictions relating to finance. And that if you don't go and take one of these clubs and make an example out of them, if you keep on giving them ways out, the rest of the footballing community isn't going to learn. Somebody has to be punished, in a very draconian fashion in order for everybody else to actually pay attention and be like, right, I need to go and get my house in order. Whereas right now, the only thing that we're seeing is it's more or less okay for a club to go and mess up, to go into administration, to get close to, being closed down, only for it not to actually happen. Do you see what I mean? So even though there's a threat there, the question is, how real is that threat? So if they're not willing to go and enforce any of that, you have to say to yourself, what's the point?
No, of course. I mean, it's one of them ones. If you're not going to have, this is the thing. You've got to enforce. I mean, rules have to be enforced in a uniform fashion. It's not one of them. It's not one of them ones where it should be one rule for one rule for someone else. It should be uniformly. And as you correctly said, in my view, as you correctly said, it's a case of if you keep giving clubs ways out, they're never going to learn. So that's the thing. If clubs keep being allowed to be run into the ground, other clubs are just going to keep doing it because they're going to think, there's no repercussions, there's no ramifications, so we can get away with it. So people are more likely to take advantage and take a mile when they've been given an inch if they know they can get away with it.